Hey guys, all right, we are going to try to make this work because once again, I can't get my mobile camera to work, but I put my computer on a cart and we're going to see if this actually works out. So once again, don't forget, if you have any questions, please put them in the questions button and I will make sure to answer them at the end. This is a pretty quick one, so we're going to go over a couple of things. If you guys are new to the photo booth industry, maybe you've heard about a 360 booth, maybe you haven't. We've been doing these for about 3 years now, so we came in early and we have a lot of experiences doing this. Thank you, Melissa. It took me an hour today. So I appreciate your comments. 360 booth had a massive blow up last year after a couple of celebrities had it at their party. And then all of a sudden there was a flood of 360 booths that came in. However, there's no education out there to help people do a good job. So there is a lot of really bad 360 content out there, guys. It's really painful. So hopefully today you will get some information. I'm going to teach you some of the tips, tricks, things I've learned along the way, and things that you need to do in order to get a 360 booth looking awesome and giving your clients quality content. So because I don't have a presentation, I just want to pull up my notes to make sure I actually go over everything because we don't have a ton of time to go over things. So first and foremost, I want to talk about the different kinds of 360 booths that that you can actually get. So there's essentially two kinds that you can get for floor models, manual or automatic. Manual is pretty self-explanatory. You literally need to swing that arm on your own. Whereas automatic ones, you press a button and it does it for you. So this is actually the 360 platform. People stand on it. This arm will usually contain a camera. In this case, it's set up for to hold an iPhone. We're gonna go over that in a minute. And the arm will spin around your subject to give you a really cool 360-degree video, and you can add effects to it, an intro, an outro, and you can add music. So that's why it's so popular, because it really is like a really cool music video style thing, not something that people can regularly get. So it is very popular. Like, we have booked this out so many damn times. Right now in Calgary, it seems to be the only thing we're booking. So it's great, and I love it. It does take a lot of work, though, to get it really, really well and to execute it properly. Okay, so we talked about manual and automatic, and actually, I will show you guys in a minute. There are different ways that you can capture. So there's three predominant ways that you can capture video using a 360 booth. Of course, using an iPhone. That is probably going to be the easiest way for you to do it if you are starting out. There's also DSLR. You need to know a lot about camera settings. If you check my next class out, though, I will help you with some of that stuff, at least for photography. And then you can also get a version that uses a GoPro. I'm not going to go over softwares because, honestly, guys, there's so many softwares out there that you can use depending on what camera you want to use. But if you're first starting out, iPhone is a great one. Please, for the love of God, use the back camera, okay? Your front camera on your iPhone cannot do slow motion. Yes, you can slow down the video, but it's not real slow motion. It is going to look really, really, really bad. Also, the light sensor on it is not as good as the back sensor. So if you're going to use an iPhone for your 360, use the back camera. Regardless of what camera you use, the most important thing is lighting, okay? So with video, it's not like a camera where you flash the light. So let me show you my setup. I'm sorry, you're gonna hear my chair move out of the way. It's a bit loud. Okay. Here is my 360 setup. Well, it's half of my 360 setup. Okay, so I have my 360 booth here. This will hold my camera on it. And then I have these LED lights. Normally we would have 4 of these. And you want to position these in like an X or whatever, a square, obviously, as close as you can to your subject as possible. And you need to get bright lights. The other thing that's really important is you need to make sure that your lights are video rated, because if you get lights that aren't video rated, what's going to happen is you're going to get that flickering. I don't know if you've seen in videos where it's going around and around and the lights are kind of like flickering, and that's because they're buying cheap lights. You can't cheap out on the lights, okay? These are the old school version of the Yuongo, I think that's how you pronounce it, stick lights. These ones are battery operated. However, because most 360 events, at least for us, run 3 to 4 hours long, we end up having to change these batteries out about 3 times. I know the newer ones last a bit longer and they are brighter as well. So I highly recommend that you get the most expensive ones that you possibly can. There's a ton of different lighting available out there. If you can spend more money on lighting, please do, because it's really going to make or break your 360 booth. So lighting, again, you're going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is to make sure that lighting is even all the way around. The next thing that you're going to want to make sure is when you actually put your camera on the stand, you have to make sure that your subject is perfectly centered in your camera. It doesn't matter if they're perfectly centered on here. They have to be perfectly centered in the camera. And the reason for this is that if they're not, you're going to get this like weird wavy thing when they go around, and it's really going to break the effect of doing a beautiful 360 booth. The other thing too is if you have 2 to 3 people, make sure they stand back to back. So you have like always the front of somebody. The other person will stand behind them, but make sure they're centered. Centered, back to back, toes obviously on the platform at all times. And one of the biggest problems that 360 owners have had, regardless of what type of camera you're using, is sharing. Because the files are so large, you can't text them. And email is a bit cumbersome, specifically because most of these networks use essentially like a closed Wi-Fi to communicate with the camera. This is going to sound a little bit complex, so I'm not going to go into it into detail because, again, this really depends on what kind of software you're using. But generally speaking, it's been really hard to get sharing on site. I know there's a lot of apps that say, oh, you don't need internet, you don't need this to share, but people have to like connect to a weird network, and then they, I don't know. It works. Don't get me wrong, it works. It's not really something that we've adopted. We've played around with it. We didn't particularly love it. But as of next week, I think, don't quote me on this, your Salsa app is actually going to be able to be used as a sharing station, which is unreal. I am so excited for all of you like long-term photo boothers who have been doing this for a while. If you guys remember Matchbooth, that's what I used to use for sharing, because you could literally connect it to any damn photo booth you wanted. Well, guess what? Your Salsa can do that too, and it does photo, it does GIF, and it does video. So here is my sharing station. I'm cutting off my own head, so that's cool. And it has my 360 videos on it. So you can record from your 360, as long as it's saving to Dropbox, it'll communicate with your Salsa sharing station. And then again, it'll just play your 360 video. And I'm gonna, if you guys pay attention to this, you'll see why it's so important to have people centered. It will play. Just give me a second, because the files are quite large. There's my cord mess, good times. So what you're gonna notice here is that they're perfectly centered. So like when it's actually spinning around, it's gonna give a beautiful 360 effect. And this is literally what you need to achieve. You're also gonna notice that the lighting is bang on. Lighting will make or break your 360. I cannot say this enough. While I'm waiting for this to load, let me try the other one. Oh, you know what it is? Oh my God, guys, I'm sorry. I had to hardwire my computer because my Wi-Fi was cutting out. So this thing doesn't actually have Wi-Fi right now, and that's why it's not playing it. But normally it would play it. So I'm sorry I can't give you an example, but I will post one later on. I do want to talk about a couple of other things. Did I spill the beans? I thought I was allowed to spill the beans. Anyway, sharing station is massive for sure. You want to, if you own any photo booth at all, and you can now connect it to your Salsa app, and you can share and print. You can even do air printing, which is amazing. Sorry, not yet. It's coming out. This isn't released yet. But going back to 360s, let's talk about the music. Music is really important in 360s as well. Another huge mistake that I'm seeing in the community is people are literally ripping music off of iTunes and using stuff that's copywritten. You cannot do that, okay? I don't care who your client is. Unless your client literally is Jay-Z, you cannot use his song, okay? Even then, you might even have issues because sometimes they don't even own the rights to their own music. So Either way, just please do not use licensed music. There are tons and tons of sites out there that have music that you can download that is royalty free. There's one called Triple Scoop. There's Audio Jungle. Sometimes you have to pay a little bit of money. Build that into your cost, okay? 360 is a luxury item. It is not meant to be $50 an hour. The amount of work that goes into getting a proper 360 exposure video is a lot, okay, guys? I will tell you that we rent out our 360 for 3 hours. Our base package is $3,750, $3,750 for 3 hours. And we have absolutely no problem renting it out, okay? So you need to master your craft and then charge accordingly. We send out our 360 booth with 3 people. We have one person whose only job is to make sure that people get on the platform and off the platform, and they direct people on how the photo booth is going to work. We have one person doing sharing, and then we have one person who is just manning the computer and making sure that everything works, okay? And I will tell you that not once have we ever had someone say that we didn't give them exceptional service, because we spent the time making sure that everything was perfect, okay? When it comes to charging for it, I know everyone needs to start somewhere. You're moving to Calgary. I'm in Ottawa right now, and we still do a ton of 360s, and we have an office in Toronto too that does 360s too. So, but please do, I could use another white label in Calgary. So when you guys are getting into doing 360s, like I mentioned, I know you need to start somewhere. I would much rather you do events for free to get the experience under your belt, so people understand like what you are doing. You're doing this to gain experience. You're doing this to make sure that it's perfect, but you're not charging them, okay? If you need to practice in the real world, do that for free and then charge accordingly, okay? My goodness, I can't say that enough. All right. What do you mean I thought I was a cat? Okay, for whoever just said $3,750 is Canadian, our cost of living is on par to most places in the US. So I just want to put that out there, okay? Everyone's always like, oh, that's 30% less in US dollars. No, a person who makes $100,000 here has to essentially pay the same amount of money, if not more, for groceries and all the other stuff, except for healthcare. That is free. Okay, if you guys have questions, I want to make sure we have lots of time to go to questions. So please, I am going to head over there. I can find my mouse. And we're going to start to answer some questions. Okay, Dow asks, music. A lot of people are using popular music, but there's a whole copyright issue. What's the true rule to follow? So I did just go over that. You just don't use it, okay? It's just like Googling a photo booth picture. That's another thing. If I see another picture of my friend Zach's photo booth on somebody's website, I'm going to lose it, okay? Do not Google 360 photos. Go take your platform and take a picture of it. Same with music. You cannot just download any music you want, okay? You have to go and buy licensed music, and you are not going to get the rights to most of the most popular music out there. So if you want to add music, go to the websites like Audio Jungle or Triple Scoop, and you can pay $20, $30, or some of them are free. There's definitely free ones out there as well. And some of the music's really good. It really is. I want to see where these questions are starting. So I apologize because there are a lot. Okay. I'm just going to start at the top. I'm sorry if I miss you. Do you offer one-on-one consultations? I do not, unfortunately, at this time. I used to, but unfortunately, I am just at max capacity right now with the events boom that came back, and also providing education through Photobooth Supply Co. So if there is something you guys want, please give that to the Photobooth Supply Co team as feedback. And if there's enough requests for it, then I can make some educational content on it, just like this video. This is something you guys requested. Even though Photobooth Supply Co does not make a 360 booth, and unfortunately Salsa app is not available to be used. I mean, you can actually use it because it does have a video feature. It does, though, lack in some of the other stuff of being able to add music. So you can do a video in normal motion and with an overlay using your Salsa app, but you can't do all of the effects and that stuff. But you can use your Salsa app as a sharing station, as I showed you over here. And this is not only for your 360 booth, but for any booth that you want. Oh, here's a good one. You know, I love my insurance questions. For those of you who don't know, I spent 14 years working in the corporate insurance world. So how do you take care of liability issues before guests get on the platform? That is a great question. So first of all, one thing that is missing from this setup right now is that normally we have stanchions, you know, those like ropes that go all the way around our booth so that people can't actually go near the arm when it's spinning. Because quite frankly, people aren't smart enough to not walk into a rotating arm that's going really fast. Like, I should turn that thing on and show you how fast it can go, because it can go really fast. But they're not smart enough to do that. So you have to protect your area, especially if there's children there. Children are smart enough, but they're also just all over the place running around. So I've had more children try and run through a 360 than adults, but still. Cordon off your area, and then always make sure that you have someone who's directing people. Our staff actually will decline people to get on the booth if they're too drunk. Usually towards the end of the night, there's always that one person who's super sloppy, gets on the booth and has actually like broken our arm because they fall on the actual arm. Before we set up today, we had to bend it back into place because once again, we had a drunk person. So some people are really good at hiding it and some people aren't. But we definitely screen people to make sure that they're not drunk. We don't generally let children onto the platform unless they're accompanied by their parent and being held by their parent. But we don't do too many events that actually have kids, thank God. But that is also why we have somebody there, and their sole job is to make sure that that person gets on and off of the platform properly. Also, we carry liability insurance. We carry as much insurance as humanly possible, obviously within our budget, but it's very important that you have insurance, especially if you have a 360, because it is a rotating arm. Surprisingly though, it doesn't hurt that much when you get hit by it, because I have been hit by it quite a few times. Keisha says, I noticed you don't have your logo on your 360. Do you recommend we not add our logo? I get charged, or I charge enough that I don't need to advertise at events, you know, so I don't ever brand our 360 at all. Unless we are sponsoring the event, it goes out just like this. And if people are really impressed with our 360, they have our email, unless we white labeled it. And if they really want to add, they'll actually come up to us and ask. And we get asked for like 5 or 6 business cards minimum at every single event that we do. So carry business cards, but your job at a party is not to advertise yourself. Your job is to entertain and to provide your service. But at no time, if you're getting paid to be at a job, should you have your company's logo anywhere. That's just my 2 cents, and that's how I grew my company, but that is how we do it. Do you recommend using an enclosure with a 360 or leaving it open to whatever it is in the background? Both. Honestly, it really depends. Weddings, I really like to do them open because there's usually a lot of decor and lighting, and the venues are generally beautiful, as well as if it's outdoors. Outdoors is a little trickier with lighting conditions and all that kind of stuff, but usually if you're outdoors, you have a nicer background. We have done enclosures though. I find that the enclosure kind of, if you're going to do an enclosure, you have to have a TV outside that shows what's happening. Otherwise, people are a little bit scared. It is big. We just did one in Vegas, I think a month ago, where we had a green screen enclosure, and people weren't really sure what it was. It's like, please come into this little room. I promise it'll be fun, you know? So I'm on the fence for that. I will say my rule of thumb though for private events or weddings, that kind of stuff is going to be just with whatever's in the background. And then you can always add lighting. You know, there's RGB lights that you can get to kind of add to the 360 experience as well. How's my time here? I think I still have a few minutes. 2 more minutes. Okay. Should I add photos of guests of honor onto the overlay? Zach. Oh my God, I should have read who was writing this one first. So that is, you know, if that's what your client wants, sure. I don't really, yeah, I've had it asked once and then we tried to steer them away from it. But if your client really wants their picture on it, do it. Yeah, I don't know what to say to that one. I'm sorry. What insurance is best for photo booth drop off? We will save that one for another day because that is not what we're talking about today. And I have one more question. Oh, I think that's actually it. Oh my God, I made it through all of them. On the 360, how can you share the videos using a DSLR camera? Okay, so that one, we kind of talked about that before. So if you're using a DSLR camera, you can actually save the videos to Dropbox using your computer. Again, I'm not going to go into the logistics of that because that is one of the most complicated 360 setups you can do, but also provides you with the best quality. And then you can just connect it to your Salsa sharing app. And you'll notice I'm actually using my Salsa Booth for the sharing station. I actually did this once because I forgot my sharing station stand for an event, but I happened to have a Salsa Booth with me, and it works so beautifully because it's the same height as people. So people were able to like look at their video and type in all their information without having to like bend over onto the small little iPad. So I kind of discovered this by mistake, but it was one of the best mistakes ever. So yeah, you can connect it as of next week or maybe the week after. Once the update comes out for Salsa app, you'll be able to use your Salsa Booth and app as a sharing station for 360 with anything or any DSLR booth that you have. And it will allow you to share easily. It's really, really amazing. All right, I think I'm out of time. Let me just check in with the moderators real quick, because if not, I'll keep going. Yeah, I am out of time. Nate is saying I'm out of time. Okay, guys, I really hope that I was able to cover as much as possible because there was a lot. But if you do have questions, keep them coming. I will check in and I will answer them in text. Thank you. Goodbye.